Hello and welcome to President's Perspective. My name is Cody Penwell. I'll be your host today. And this is our very first episode, so I'd like to welcome Dr. Tracy Fitzsimmons, the president of Shenandoah University. Thanks you for
Cody.
Being a part of the show. It's a new experience, something new that hasn't really been done before. So what this is basically students and faculty and staff members and even community members can email me questions or call the station, do anything to get in contact with me, and we can put your question on air, and you can ask Dr. Fitzsimmons a question, then her and I will discuss the answers afterwards and just kind of get into the meat and potatoes of Shenandoah University. So, you excited?
I'm excited. I got to tell you, I'm most excited because this idea for the show came from a student.
Exactly.
So
and
that's what excites me.
It's a student show. It's a student-run show. So this is for the students.
And Shenandoah is all about students, so that's why we're here.
So we're students for students, and yeah, I guess we can just kind of jump right into it. Alyssa Hansen, she's a freshman arts management major, and she wants to know, why can I only swipe my card at certain times?
Well, you know, I could say it's sort of like my 3 little kids at home. We have set meal times, and that's when they get to eat, and at the one snack time, and that's it. But the reality is we have this terrific food service at Shenandoah University by Sodexo, and by their policy, they have a 19 or 15 meal plan, and students are allowed to eat that many meals per week, and they're during set times. And they're set times to really prevent students from trading off cards, and they eat and then perhaps pass it on to a friend. And I understand that that's about sort of being able to balance the budget for Sodexo while providing really good quality food. There are those flex dollars that are added. There are 50 flex dollars to each card, and so students can use those to eat in the interim, and they can go over to the student center and use them at Jasmine's or
to the grill
or at the grill, things like that.
Okay.
But I can tell you that Sodexo and that our auxiliary services are really interested in hearing from students, and I know a couple of times this year that they've made some adjustments based upon student suggestions, and so I would really tell students to contact John Stevens or contact Pierre Lebrecq with their suggestions.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, because I know that as a student, there's some times when, like, I have a class from 4 to 6, and then sometimes at 6:30. So sometimes I have to eat my meal, like, right before 4 o'clock, but the caf could sometimes be closed, or it's right in between meal change, so all they have is, like, rice and cereal that's out, you know, so it's kind of one of those.
Or you have to eat between 6 and 6:30, and the reality is that's sort of how life works once you're out in the working world. I mean, we all have those lunches, but Sodexo also allows students to call ahead and tell them, I don't have time for lunch, for example, and they would pack a brown bag lunch for the students. And so the students could zip in, grab it, and take it with them. And I think the faculty are very flexible and would be happy for students to eat in class. We prefer you to eat in class than not get to eat at all.
Well, that works. Okay, a big topic today is parking. We got a bunch of questions about parking issues and parking permits. So,
parking and food. When I was a student, I thought about those things too. I understand that.
That's all we're concerned about is parking and food. But yeah, so Raul Hasbun, he's a junior mass comm major, and he wants to know why do commuter students have to pay the same as residential parkers for permits? And I can kind of see where he's coming from on this question. As in, you know, residential parkers are going to be there for 24 hours a day. Their cars are always on the lot, taking up spaces. I mean, not taking them up, but they're there. Students, you know, a commuter student is only there for a couple hours a day, and then they have to go home and sometimes pay for their parking at their apartment complex.
Of course, that does get into a sort of a slippery slope. It leads us to ask questions about, well, maybe part-time students should pay less than full-time students, or if I schedule my classes just 3 days a week, maybe I should pay less than somebody who's a commuter student scheduling classes 5 days a week. The reality is that we have to provide enough parking for all students, all faculty and staff, and visitors who want to come to the institution. And we have more than enough parking. It may not always be right in front of the building that we want to park at, and some of us really like convenience.
That is true.
And I'm among those. But we're really starting to encourage a culture of walking on campus. And so what that means is, whether you're a student or you're a visitor or a staff member, we hope that you'll arrive, you'll park, and you'll walk to your first class or your first lecture, and walk from there to the student center, and walk from there to the Wilkins Administration Building, and not expect to drive your car everywhere around campus. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, as we've grown, we've had to add parking. And adding parking means a considerable cost to the institution, whether it be paving flat areas or building parking decks, which is really what we've had to move into. I mean, the city has really said you need to have more parking. And in order to be able to fund that, and in order to help fund the Student Center, we've had to increase the parking fee over the last couple of years. And that's probably been over the last 4 or 5 years that the institution increased that parking fee. And I know that's a hardship for students. You know, we're talking about the difference between $30 or $40 and $110 or $115 each year. And if you're a student, that's a lot of money.
Can add up over time. It can add up.
Of course, we have beautiful facilities now. We've got a great parking deck, and the students, as well as the faculty and staff, love it, particularly when there's inclement weather.
Definitely, definitely.
And you see on a beautiful day, nobody's in the parking garage, excuse me, and you see the snow forecast, and everybody gets out and they move their cars there, and it just makes for easy access.
Now, there was a rumor going around that the parking garage was free, and I actually fell victim to this. Like, it was free parking since it was off. I don't know how this came about. I think it was also because there was no red permits only, orange permits only, you know, some of those signs. Because I parked there, and I ran out from my car from the student center to a security guard starting to write my ticket, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I freaked out. And he was nice and was just like, okay, you know, I'll give you a warning and let you go. But I was like, I thought this was free. Like, I thought that was kind of like, you know, parking in front of the buildings or in front of the dorms, you pay for. I don't know.
It's the get out of jail free card.
I don't know where that idea came from, I'll tell you the truth.
I don't either, but it's not. All faculty, staff, and students are required to have a parking permit and pay for them. And
that works. So let's go right to the next parking question. This is from Andrew Deering. He's a sophomore music production and recording technology major. And he wants to know, what are the plans for the Armory parking lot? He said, you know, it was bought kind of in the middle of the year. It was all of a sudden students can park there because it's off campus, but then it was bought and security guards were ticketing it. So are they gonna pave it, like fix it up at all, or is it just gonna kind of be this space that we can't park in anymore? Well,
at the moment, the Armory is really in transition between the National Guard and the institution. The city bought the part that belonged to, the university bought the part that belonged to the city of Winchester. And right now, we're allowing the National Guard to stay there until their new facility is prepared. That's both the internal facility and the parking facility. And when they do, we will begin to enter into a set of discussions about the master plan of the institution, what we might put there. But for now, it's terrific space, the Armory, for student affairs activities. We've got basketball intramural leagues going on. We've got some practice for baseball teams in there. So the Armory itself is being used right now
by
student affairs, the building.
Okay.
The parking lot is just like the building. We're going to have to wait and see what sort of the long-term plan is for the institution, and that probably means waiting for the economy to turn around for
Of course, and definitely just figure out what is, you know, what would be most effective in that space, and
what the university needs, which is really about what do students need.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, that was a big, because I'm a conservatory student, so that was always a big thing because it's right next to the conservatory, and you know, kids would park there because it's so close, and it was kind of that.
And
on
free.
The edge. It was free. We didn't really have to go all the way to the park, and I mean, I have a pass, but I would just end up parking there because a lot of times the spots in front of the building were taken, so sometimes the Armory parking lot was the next closest thing. So even though I have a pass, I would sit there and park just because it's closer, and convenience is always, you know, key.
But exercise is key too.
True.
It's okay to park a little bit further and walk. I have to remind myself of that too.
That's a really good point. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. Fitzsimmons, for being a part of the show. I look forward to doing future episodes with you and answering students' questions and just really getting involved in.
This is great. I'm really excited about it.
It's exciting. It is. It is. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions as a student, faculty member, staff, feel free to write them in. Email me at wct@su.edu or at cpenwell@su.edu. And hopefully your question will get on air, and Dr. Fitzsimmons and I can answer the questions and be on future episodes. So thank you very much for watching, and stick around for next episodes coming up soon.